Friends, Americans, country folk, wishing you all love, healing, understanding. And yesterday was crazy. It's crazy for you, crazy for me, crazy for all the people who were there and the four folks who lost their lives. My want is that this is the moment that really kicks us in the butt, that really activates our patriotism, not nationalism, but really a love of country. I know I, for example, took America for granted for a very long time. Like, yeah, it'll always be elections. It'll never be perfect. But it's the best of all possible worlds, and might as well just focus on me. Well, as this, I forget who said it. Democracy is the best form of government if you can keep it. Might have been Hamilton. Not sure. And it's clear that we have to have a more active citizenship, right? We can't just have people in Washington or Sacramento, as the case may be, dictate our future. This takes all of us, and I've been incredibly moved and heartened by all the folks who've been getting involved in this year's election. Folks were like me, who stayed on the bench and be like, okay, the best person to win. It's not my deal. I'm not into politics, or I'd rather watch sports or whatever. But politics is very into you, and so it seems that a bunch of us are waking up. And my hope is that after the fear and shock pass, that you too will find your own place in healing, in bringing us back together and unifying. So today I want to share a little bit about where we're at right now, how we got here, and where we can go. Now, where we're at is not a good place. This is the least effective Senate in history. We've had the three least qualified presidents in history. We've basically been in a 40-year slide where now 97% of Americans have unhealthy lifestyles. 83% of us are stressed out. 78% of us are paycheck to paycheck. And 61% of us are lonely. And that was before the pandemic. So where we're at right now, who knows? It's probably a lot worse, especially with this kind of K-shaped recovery, with professionals like myself doing okay and everybody else going down. Now, we're at record income inequality and record income mobility. And we passed the point a couple of years ago where over 50% of Americans don't believe that more hard work will lead to a better life. So faith, trust in government it's at an all-time low. We basically, the last election, 75% of Americans did not vote for the establishment candidate, which was Hillary Clinton, I should say, the 2016 election. Now that obviously shifted this time, but it says something that only a quarter folks said, yeah, let's keep the wheels on the bus. So it's becoming pretty clear to just about everybody that how we're doing things doesn't work. And now what I just shared with you is just the averages, right? We know that life is much worse for our BIPOC friends. We know that there's 1 cent of black wealth for every dollar of white wealth. So it's bad for everybody, with the exception of a few straight white guys near cities. And it's way worse for everybody who's not a straight white guy near a city. Now, all is not lost. Remember, we made this up. Money's made up. Government is made up. We made all this up. So this is on us. We can take some responsibility. And we got to this place because of actions we took, stands we did take or did not take. Now, to put it in perspective, 1970, like, you could make minimum wage and provide for a family of four. Like, you might not be able to afford a house, but you could at least provide food, schooling, clothes, all that kind of good stuff, healthcare. And that's obviously not the case. It requires two incomes just to get by now. So how did we get here? So as I alluded, there has been this leak of wealth from the lower middle class to the upper class. Recent RAND study revealed this, that every year, $2.5 trillion is reverse distributed from poor people to rich people. That's every year. And that basically over the last 4 decades, we've had effective inflation of 8 to 10%. Now, that's not the 1 to 3% that's reported. That's what the actual inflation is of things people buy, because economists like to exclude a lot of the more expensive things. So actual inflation is 8 to 10%. Wage growth is 1 to 3%. So do the math. 6 to 7% of your paycheck every year goes from your household to folks who own capital, basically, banks, equity holders, corporations. Now, that's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. And what we're seeing now, these are the conditions that are ripe for extremism, like what we saw yesterday on the Capitol. Now, so poverty basically creates the susceptibility that I'm going to start to believe in something that's going to get me out of this, because I'm working hard. Like I'm either I've got one job, but I've got a side hustle. A business I'm trying to get off the ground, or I've got 2 jobs, or I'm trying to find a job. I know it's not me, and they're right. Like folks who are struggling, it's not them. It's not that they don't want to work. It's not that they don't want to earn. Not that they don't want a job. They're not there. They're not there. What they can't find, it's basically subsistence wages. So if somebody comes along who's got a vague idea that he's going to save him or she's going to save him, and keeps repeating that and saying the reason why you're messed up is because of other people, white, black, brown, whatever, folks who are not like you, immigrants, whatever, those are the conditions to say, you know what, this guy, he's speaking the truth, because he's right. He's right. He's saying life sucks. I can help you. Only I can do it. I've done it before with all my businesses. So don't get mad at those folks who put all their chips on the great savior. Don't get mad at them. That's normal. You would do it. I would do it. If any of us were backed up against a wall, and the harder we worked and we could not get ourselves out of it, we'd be looking for other solutions. It's just, the nature of things. So that's just from the economic perspective. Now, the culture perspective, we took our hands off the steering wheel in the 80s. So we did not renew the fairness doctrine. I believe it was 87, which said that the public airways need to serve the public interests, and in which case that means truth and something that's fair and balanced. And basically made similar, like, nah, you can say whatever you want. And so what you end up having is hyper-partisan cable networks like MSNBC and Fox saying what they know that their viewers want, without any fiduciary responsibility to the American people to say the truth. Now, of course, in the 2000s, we saw that with social media, you can pretty much do that anyways. So now kind of the cat's out of the bag. Anybody can say anything and not be accountable. We're starting to see some things on the margins with Twitter and Facebook taking stands against violence and incendiary and false language. But that kind of started it. So you want to know how we got here? Like we decided that we didn't have to be responsible for what is on our airwaves. Now, much of it is great. Like, I love watching The Sopranos. Great. But when it comes to how I can stay informed, I do not turn that thing on. Because I know that they have no responsibility. There's no accountability to tell me the truth. They're there to keep me agitated, incited, keep the ad dollars flowing. So that's the first piece. Now, I believe it was the 90s when Gingrich got into power. And one simple dictate, he did a lot to kind of divide our country. He's since started to do a lot to bring us back together. I know he's done some bipartisan work with Van Jones and some other folks, but Gingrich told his congress people not to move to DC. He said, stay home, just fly on a Monday, leave on Thursday or Friday. Now, that on the surface doesn't seem like a big deal, but it was actually a big effing deal. So all of these families, these Congress people, they weren't invested in the community in Washington, D.C. Their kids didn't play Little League together. They didn't go to birthday parties together. They didn't see each other at the same benefits. They were back home. And so the social fabric that used to exist between the two parties started to fray then. And of course, now we know where it's at right now. We've got Schumer and McConnell like ready to kill each other, which I would pay to see, actually. I think it'd be a pretty good fight. So we've taken our hands off the wheel on media with Facebook, MSNBC, Parler, Fox, just running wild, saying whatever they want. And then you got folks like QAnon making realities up out of whole cloth without any accountability. So that's where we're at right now. So what do we do from here? I mean, obviously, we can't continue the laissez-faire, right? You as a citizen, me as a citizen, I can't be like, golly, I hope the smart people in DC figure it out, because I'm not sure that they can. Remember, they're products of the system. Most of them are born and raised and elected in the same system that rewards hyperpartisanship, that rewards decimating the middle class, the working class, that is only given lip service to the wants of indigenous peoples and African-American folks. So it doesn't matter really what side they're on. It doesn't matter, what college they went to or what they say, they're still doing the same thing. So how do we change this system that creates different incentives for people to act in, or for our leaders to act in the best interest of people? So first, we need to acknowledge that this is a triage situation. There's not one problem. It's not just extremism and fake news. It's across the board. We've got climate change. We've got a pandemic. We've got a recession. And then we've got fake news, violence, extremism, incendiary language. Those are just the ones that are coming to mind, but obviously there's many more, like our unfinished civil rights movement. So we've got a number of things happening, and we need to triage like ASAP. So what do we do? So near term, the short answer is stimulus. Everybody who's struggling, who is at their wit's end, who doesn't know how they're going to put food on the table, needs immediate support. So whether that's food stamps, whether that's direct stimulus checks of $2,000 to start, but try $2,000 a month until we're out of this. Like do like Canada. When in doubt, do like Canada or like Northern Europeans, basically. Now the medium term. So we still have this raging pandemic with 2 new variants, one in Africa, one in the UK, and they're probably here right now. We need a national COVID response. Everybody knows this. Mass social distancing, get paid to stay home, work out, take a course, invent something, but we can't pretend like we're going to be going back anytime soon until this thing is under control. Now, longer term, to change the structure that creates the conditions for this massive suffering, like literally 2/3 to 4/5 of America is suffering, struggling every day, every month. Like I said, stressed, lonely, paycheck to paycheck, unhealthy. You know the stats too. So we have to change the fundamental nature of our economy, and the easiest way to do that is a massive jobs bill. Now, we could say, okay, let's just put a bunch of people work for federal agencies, but we have long overdue infrastructure projects that need to be fixed. We need a national broadband network. We need national mass transit. We need national renewable energy, just like every other grown-up nation has. And we have the bodies. People are ready to work. They're ready to pick up a shovel, pick up a wrench, whatever it's going to take to build this. So as those of you who know about the New Deal, doing this created the biggest boom in American history in terms of economic expansion, because we had all this great infrastructure we could put businesses and houses and consumer experiences on top of. So that would be basically the longer term piece for the economy. Now, how do we fix this government? Right now, what we have are biological adults acting like children and making promises, and most of them not being kept. So an honesty issue. And then we also have willful lying, like folks who know that there was no fraud, who are saying there was fraud. Folks who are saying that Democrats are socialists, are saying that Republicans are vile racists, like just these elected officials, the elders, those who are most responsible, are supposed to be most responsible. And nothing's getting done. Least productive Senate in American history. So how do we fix this? So we need to have a transparency and ethics requirement for every elected official, meaning all their tax returns, know what they've done and with whom, and where all their money is. Ethics. In the same way that we're going to hold media companies accountable for what they say, we have to hold our leaders that they cannot lie to us, that there is a penalty. Like truth is, in addition to time, truth is becoming like the most important currency. And so many people aren't telling us the truth. So if folks are in breach of telling the truth to their constituency, they need discipline, either removal from office or some kind of hefty fine. We need federally funded elections. So no dark money, no K Street, no nothing. It's literally the best person on that debate stage gets the most number of signatures without any money from anybody. So this all has to be volunteer. Federally funded elections. Take the money out so that it makes it easy for people to tell the truth and not offend their funders or whatever. Now, the Senate, I think, is probably the least, it needs one of the biggest overhauls, and it doesn't get enough attention. I think it's going to start based on what we've seen recently. So the Senate, obviously right now we've got 100 senators, 2 from each state. Now, I live in a state, California, that completely dwarfs most states. There's we're the world's 5th largest economy, tons of people. Doesn't make sense we have 2 senators, and Rhode Island has the same number of senators. So I recommend we double or triple the number of senators, such that at least one state has so that at least each state has 1 senator, and then we allocate the senators accordingly. So they keep the same six-year terms. Their job is still to be the cooling saucer for the House of Representatives, but they're democratically elected so that the majority of Americans have their voice represented in the United States federal government. Now, full disclosure, I know nothing about, I'm not a subject matter expert in politics or economics or one thing I do know about, though, is culture. And I worked with 2 of the leading scalable culture change companies, Ion and Imperative, and know actually what it takes to shift culture at the organizational level and like very large organizational level, where we have a few 100,000 people working at the company. And there are essentially 4 things that we need to do at a cultural level. First, Biden and Harris need to act like the high priests of the American democratic religion, or what, I think it's Robert Putnam talks about. America actually has a religion. It's called civil democracy. And it is the job of the high priests of that religion, in this case, the president and vice president, to tell the story. Who are we as a people? To reference our founding documents, Declaration of Independence and our Constitution, to turn pluribus into unum, to speak to the heart of the pain of every single American and mirror that and turn that into an inspiring vision. So that is their job, to turn pluribus into unum by celebrating our heroes, sourcing our texts, and talking about our deepest held ideals. So I think they need to be on TV at least once a week, once every 2 weeks, holding town halls, just holding a space, the fireside chat like FDR, holding space for people to share what their experience is and what they want, to listen, to reflect, to mirror, to bless. That's what a high priest does. It blesses the dignity of the human soul. So Biden and Harris need to start acting like that, like now. Um, Secondly, FCC fairness and truth. It needs to be reinstated and expanded to all of cable news networks, to all of social media. Like there are serious federal penalties for lying, for not substantiating what it is that you are saying with proven fact. In this case, for news organizations, 2 verifiable sources. So you have to do that or you get slammed. Thirdly, a national service program. I've always wanted to do something like that, like to serve my country, to do like an AmeriCorps type thing. And that's actually what I recommend, is a 2-year AmeriCorps program that gives you an associate's degree. So you learn the basics of what it takes to be a full participant in American society. So critical thinking. There's some measure of self-awareness to understand your purpose, your role in this country. Communication skills. So how to lead an increasingly diverse country. So inclusive leadership skills, emotional intelligence, cultural intelligence, critical thinking around media. Like what am I saying to you right now? What's behind what I'm saying? What is my goal? Like to really be able to think about that and to have your own opinion, be able to talk about it. Now, in addition to like the coursework, there would also be service projects in your local area. And after 2 years, you would have an associate's degree, which would then qualify you for a 4-year state college tuition free. So you've served your country for 2 years. You become a fully fledged American citizen through the coursework and through your service. And now we give you 2 years to finish your degree and begin your life. I think that would be amazing. Now, the fourth is that our education system is a mess. It's not just the last 4 years of having it being gutted. It's historically underfunded. Class sizes are too big. Teachers are underpaid. And we have basically, in the same way we took our eye off the ball with culture, we did the same thing with education. We said, let the markets handle it. Charter schools, or it's really on the parents, or it's on the teachers, and let's punish them, and let's carrot and stick this way, our way to academic excellence. As it turns out, there's not that much new under the sun here. Small class sizes that are integrated racially, socially, economically. So the principle here is called contact hypothesis. It was developed in the 50s by Gordon Allport. But basically, when you take 2 people who are different, put them together, have them do something together, they like each other, they trust each other, they empathize with each other, and they call each other friends. So that's what we don't have. Like right here in San Diego, where I live, outside of City Heights, it is our town is basically incredibly diverse, but incredibly segregated. Every ethnic minority has got their own block. It's just like basically how I grew up in Chicago. Polish area, Italian area, Irish area, Black area, Puerto Rican area, Mexican area. And so if we're really going to fulfill on our purpose as being United States, e pluribus unum, from anyone, we have to integrate. We have to integrate within the schools, between the schools. So to basically adopt an entire social and educational ethos that says we're going to fund this like it matters, because culture matters, obviously. We know it just happened at the White House or at the Capitol. It matters. So we need to invest in it as though it matters as much as it does. So that means more teachers, make more money, and we put people together to learn who are different. That's what makes us great. Diversity is our strength. And for most people, that's not their reality. They grow up with people who look just like them, who sound just like them. So I hope this is helpful. We covered a lot of ground around what's so, about having a unjust, exploitative economy, ineffective Congress, everybody's poor, how we got here through inflation and low wage growth, $2.5 trillion a year going from the lower class to the upper class, as well as our breakdown around the FCC and politics. Now, we know what to do now. We know what to do now. The data is there. There are lots of great examples to follow. My invitation to you is to put on a suit of hope right now. There are smart people here. You're one of them. And there's something for you to do that's part of this. So stay in that question until you have an answer. And then when you have that answer, go for it. Be well.